Very good morning. Today discuss about the women and sports related with children's and sports. It's a very important topic. This one in the field of games and sports, people do not acknowledge means women and sports to be at par with men's sports. Right from the beginning of Olympic Games, the role of women in sports and games has been neglected. However, from the last decade of the previous centuries, there is an increasing interest in women in sports, both participants and spectators. Indeed, a lot of effort have been taken vis women and participation in sports, and even greater step at yet to be taken. And now discuss about the reason for less participation in women in sports. So there are a lot of reason I have given. So one by one going to discuss. This is the very important reason for women nowadays they are facing this reason. First one is that a lack of legislation. So legislation is means that managements or regulations or arrangement for women. So in India there is a lack of such legislation. Here the type of enhance evidently here this type of financial aid is not provided to educational institutions from the central government. For providing the sports facility, less budget is allocated in comparison to that in western country. After having a glance on sports budget and other facilities provided in women's college and schools, it can be observed clearly that there is a less expenditure is developing the sports facility in comparison to that in men's college and school. In fact, there is a lack of facilities for women in many college and school. Next one is a lack of time. The majority of women usually have been lesser time than men because they take a greater responsibility for household work. Some of them have full-time job to earn a living. Therefore, due to lack of time, they do not participate in such of activities. Next one is lack of self-confidence. Owing to social pressures, women tend to have less self-confidence in comparison to men. Indeed, self-confidence is also linked to sports competitions. Next one is men dominated culture of sports. As a culture of sports is perceived to be male dominated, some women seem to hesitate to take part in sports activities. Next one is lack of interest in spectators and no coverage of women in sports. So lack of interest in spectators in one of the major reason for the less participation in women in sports. For example, I'm giving a cricket match may be termed as an exception where there is always a huge number of spectators, but this is not true for women's cricket match. Generally, there is no broadcast for women's sports competition on TV channels. Everyone is just concerned about the men's cricket. How many times do you watch any sports played by women in India on TV? Can you tell me? You hardly watch women's cricket World Cup, women's Kabaddi World Cup, women's hockey World Cup, etc. on TV. As a matter of fact, if there is a less number of spectators in sports competitions of players, those competitions, the players where man or woman will not be properly motivated to participate in sports. This decreases their enthusiasm and participation. So interested spectators must be there and coverage media must be there for women in sports. Next one is a lack of female sportsperson for role model. There is a few sportsperson for role models such as PT Usha, Karna Maleshwari, Sania Mirza, Sania Nawal, MC Mary Kom, Mithali Raj, PV Sindhu, etc. But they are not popularized on TV or other medias. If the number of such affects women sportsperson is increased and they are popularized on TV and other media, then the participations of women in field of sports will definitely be enhanced. Next one is lack of fit fitness and wellness movement. Due to the lack of fitness and wellness movement, women participation in sports is less. Nowadays, women are aware of benefit to fitness and wellness, and participation in sports activities will definitely make them aware and alert. It get a perfect sports ready body is not a bed of roses. It can only be achieved with the help of regular participation in sports. So it's the very important things about the fitness and wellness of movements for women. And next one is a lack of awareness among the women. It is also considered that women who participate in sports face a number of problems at the time of childbirth. However, this is far from being true. There are various misconceptions are prevailing in our society, such as bones of women who participate in sports become weak. Their uh, their femininity, such as femininity, is also at a risk. In fact, these are only thought which are not based on any fact. This wrong idea limit the women from sports participation in sports. Less number of women and coaches. Less number of women and coaches in India also one of the reason for less participation in women in sports. If the number of women coaches is enhanced, there will be definitely be increasing in women participation in sports and games. Next one is attitude of societies towards the women and participation in sports. So the attitude of society play a very vital role towards the women and participation in sports. Indian society still look down upon women's participation in sports. Indeed, not only in case of India, but there are a lot of countries in the world which have a negative point view of regarding women participation in sports. In male-dominated society, the views of male sports person about female sports persons are definitely regressive. It is said that why don't they stay in kitchen where they belong. Masculinity and femininity are given a definition by our society. There is actually no link of masculinity and femininity with the participation in sports. Next one is lack of personal safety. The personal safety on the road, street, public transport, and in and around the sports venues in a common as well as the persistence problem for women who wants to participate in sports. There may be an easy target to bullying and abuse. Traveling to and from sports stadium or complex may be dangerous for women. Usually they don't feel safe. Due to this reason, the parents discourage them to take part in sports. Last one is lack of proper SS facility. There is a lack of proper SS facilities provided to women in the field of sports. Facilities in terms of equipment, training, coaching, etc. are not usually provided to women as done in case of men. Hence, participation of women remains low. Even the programs related to games and sports in girls' college and schools are less in comparison to boys' school and college. Generally, the women do not have adequate playing facility near their homes, which makes it more difficult for them to participate in sports. So there are the reason for the less participation in sports in India, but nowadays step by step that will be that reason will be that decreasing, and then women are coming in this field for showing their performance. So thank you for today's topic. Next we discuss about another topic. Thank you very much.